Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports, with me, Coach Ryan D. And the Stanley Cup Playoffs are finally here. One of the most exciting years in recent memory because we have 4 divisions that have not had interdivisional play. So stick with us till the end of this video because we're going to talk about the Eastern Division. And this is part 1 of our 5-part series where I'm going to take you through all 4 conferences, the first 2 rounds, the championship rounds, and finally the Stanley Cup Finals in video number 5, and ultimately give you my bracket and prediction for who's going to win it. We're going to do it using stats. We're going to use it using head-to-head stats. We're going to look at players, line combinations, coaching tactics, history. We're going to try to put everything we can in a blender to come up with our logical predictions. And what makes this so much fun? Simply the fact that my prediction can't be any better or worse than your prediction. So I love hearing reactions from fans, coaches, and analysts. I hope you find this as part of your predictions repertoire as well. And if you agree with my predictions, smash a like. If you disagree, let me know in the comments where I got it wrong. And if you're first time at this channel, hit that subscribe. We're going all the way through the playoffs. We got some fantastic content and a great community here. So we're going to roll that intro and get into part 1, the Eastern Division. Woo!
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh my God. What a goal. Oh, baby.
So I think it's only appropriate that we start off with the East. The Eastern Division, in my opinion, is the best division in hockey and a really likely place that the Stanley Cup may come out of. But you're going to have to stick with us through all 5 videos to figure out where that ends up. We have some of the toughest competition, and even after the 4 playoff teams, we have 2 teams in the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Rangers that also had good seasons. Against or conversely versus the other 3 divisions, there are very few bottom-feeding teams in this division. It was tight all year. It's physical. They've been playing playoff hockey since the beginning. It's littered with vets. It has a ton of new hotness. Wow, this is an exciting division. So why don't we smash the 1 versus 4 matchup right now? Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Islanders. Yes, I want to talk about the New York Islanders, the team of fire ants. When you get involved with one New York Islander, an entire team swarms you, defensively, offensively, in the neutral zone. This team has one of the best systems and team play in the NHL, and that's because they're led by Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz, 2-time Jack Adams Award winner in the last 5 years, candidate this year for Jack Adams Award winner. This man makes amazing teams and diamonds out of coal, because who's on this team? Who even knows? You got Matt Barzel as a game breaker, and then a bunch of wily vets who are bought in, ready to win a cup. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins. Woo! This team has a chip on their shoulder. Crosby, led by coach Mike Sullivan, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, Jeff Carter at the trade deadline. Brian Rust is still here. Lots of veterans that have frankly been asleep for the last 2 or 3 years, not producing Pittsburgh Penguins hockey. We heard all about it at the beginning of the season. Where's Crosby going to go? What's his trade destination? This team's getting blown up. Well, guess not, because they're first place in their division, and this team of Lions looks like they've woken up from their 3-year slumber and they are ready to kill. Pittsburgh has a nasty chip on their shoulder. They have nasty game-breaking speed. They got nasty, tough in the corner players. They got to deal with Boston and Washington, game in, game out. Never mind their hated rival, Philadelphia. This team is grizzled, veteran, and ready to win. And they are going to remind you, as Christopher Walken says, just why they're the kings of this jungle. I don't know about you guys, but I always love a good Christopher Walken voice montage. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape before we give you the predictions of this series. So here we go. Pittsburgh versus New York. Heads up in 5 categories. Their record against each other. The goals per game heads up. The goals per division heads up. Their power play and their penalty kill percentage. We could break down analytics for days, but these are 5 key categories heading into the playoffs. 6-2 the Penguins take this series. Jari has done excellent against the New York Islanders. Their goaltending, pretty mediocre in Pittsburgh. He's average, but they've performed very well against the Islanders. Goals in their heads-up series. Those big guns on the Pittsburgh Penguins continue to fill the net even against the well-disciplined Islanders. They put up a 3.3 goals per game average, which is huge, and they come in with a league-leading 3.45 goals per game within their division. Conversely, compare that to the Islanders. This is a team built on systems and defense and team play all over the ice. but they struggle to score. And when you look at their roster, you know why they struggle to score. 2.4 goals against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That will not get it done in the playoffs. I promise you, they will not win 4 games going 2-1. 2.71, 20th in the NHL. That stat wouldn't even make the playoffs. Top 16 do, they're at 20. Basement team in goals for, that's a scary stat. Taking a look at the power play, Pittsburgh has fixed their power play woes from last year. They were a mid-pack team last year, but they're up to 23.7% of the power play. We know the power play matters massively when it comes to the playoffs and success. Good enough for 4th in the league. Conversely, the Islanders, pretty nasty. 18.8%. Oh, I don't like that at all. 21st in the league, matching their goals per game. Not looking great for the Islanders right now statistically, but then the bread and butter of the New York Islanders is that penalty kill. 83.7%, one of the league's best. And Pittsburgh's biggest weakness, they are not good on the kill. So if Pittsburgh ends up in a bit of a pissing contest and taking some of those penalties, or the referees in the playoffs decide to actually take the whistles out and not let the boys play, Pittsburgh could find themselves in a little bit of trouble. So then let's go ahead and take a look at the Pittsburgh Penguins' point production throughout the year. Obviously, Sid the Kid ends up leading it, and we know he's not a kid anymore, but he is still the man. Sid comes in over a point per game at 62 points. Nice balance between goals and assists. We see Chris Letang. We see Jake Gunsel. We see Brian Rust here. We see you boys. Yeah, we see you. This team's loaded top to bottom, and with fantastic line combinations. Take a look at their projected lineup. Line 1, Crosby, Rust, Gunsel. Pretty darn good line 1. Not as good as some of the best in the league, but still definitely good enough to get it done in this series. They're going to hit you with their 1-2 punch like they have for the last 18 years, it feels like. Evgeny Malkin, the Toronto back to Pittsburgh, Kasperi Kapanen, speed, baby, speed all day with him, and then the wily veteran Jason Zucker. These two lines scream playoff experience, they scream no panic, they scream calm, and they scream goals. Following that up with Jeff Carter on line 3, what has Jeff Carter done since he's got to the Penguins? Well, only what Jeff Carter always does. Fill the net with goals, man. Jeff Carter is a scoring machine, and since Pittsburgh has traded for him, Pittsburgh has skyrocketed up the standings. This guy is hot right now. Their defense, Dumoulin, Letang. Letang is still a premier defenseman in the NHL. He can still move that puck over. And Cody Ceci, he's become a thing over on Pittsburgh. Thank you, Mike Sullivan. Goaltending, Tristan Jarry. He's been not too bad down the stretch. Jarry's won 5 of the last 6 meetings against the New York Islanders. He's got mediocre numbers, a 9.09 save percentage, goals against average of 2.04. So is Jarry good enough to win a cup? You'll have to stick with us through the videos in order to find that out, but he's definitely good enough to beat the Islanders. So how are the New York Islanders going to get it done? They're going to drive their offense through Mathew Barzel. Fantastic player. It's too bad Anders Lee is out, but that's why you go ahead and pick up a guy like Paul Mary and Zajac at the trade deadline. Zajac has a little bit of Stanley Cup experience. He's been to the final with New Jersey. He's been unable to close it out. Let's see if the Winnipegger can do it this year. Josh Bailey, Brock Nielsen, Jordan Eberle, Nick Leddy. These are very good NHL players. Their points may not be the deepest in the league, but systematically, they know how to put it together. This team knows how to play with each other. And then we have the Islanders' projected lineup. Of course, it's driven by Mathew Barzal. Leo Komarov's kicking around in there. Jordan Eberle is still a thing in the NHL, and he can still be dangerous with that shot when he needs to be. Brock Nielsen rounds out the second line. How do we feel that this is going to match up against Pittsburgh? Well, let's get through the rest of the lineup. We'll talk about line 1, 2, 3, and 4 matching. The defense, though, for the New York Islanders is a real key. Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock right now, these guys have been Crosby's kryptonite. They have shut him down. Crosby has been frustrated by these two. Expect them to carry a lot of the weight. And then finally in net, Sergei Varlamov, maybe the key to this entire series. He is a Vezina candidate. He could even be a Vezina winner. Varlamov has had a fantastic showing right now in New York. So New York may not score a lot of goals, but their defensive pairings, their top 4, along with Varlamov, have been able to keep them out of the net. The question is, can they keep the Pittsburgh Penguins at bay? They have not done it all season, but will that change in the playoffs? So what is my prediction going forward? My prediction is that they will not beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. They do not have enough horses to do it. The way the Islanders ended up beating the Capitals last year was through transition speed in the neutral zone. The Islanders are deadly at all zones using transition speed, but Pittsburgh is just as fast, maybe faster. They are not playing against an older, slower team like Washington. They're playing against an older, faster team in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has the speed to end up ending this series, and Barry Trots has admitted it himself. They're deep down the middle. They're deep in the back end. Their goaltending is suspect, but their speed and skill can kill you. I'm going to go ahead and say the first line and the second line matchup of the Pittsburgh Penguins ends up crushing Mathew Barzel and Brock Nielsen. The Penguins take this in 5. 5, baby. Penguins move on. Bruins, Capitals. This I am excited for. If this doesn't scream physical playoff hockey, I don't know what does. These are two nasty teams with nasty reputations for taking it out against opponents. Tom Wilson, Brad Marchand, two of the best pests and most dangerous offensive players in the game, even though they play with an edge. Zdeno Chara, he's played for both. Captained the Boston Bruins to a Stanley Cup and a Stanley Cup Final, was the definition of Bruins hockey. Now he's on the Capitals. These teams have not met in the playoffs for quite some time, but I can tell you this meeting is going to be nasty. Washington is going to lean in to their top-notch goal scoring and their physicality. What makes Washington so dangerous in the regular season is they beat you up to get space. They throw hits. Everything is body, body, body. And they use intimidation tactics to go ahead and open up the ice for players like Ovechkin and Oshie and Backstrom to go ahead and finish it. But guess what? The Bruins, they will not be intimidated or back down from any of this. Wait, you're going to tell me the Boston Bruins are tough? Yeah, Leafs fans might want to close their ears for this. Maybe even Canucks fans, but the Bruins, they're freaking tough. That's right. The Bruins are tough. Patrice Bergeron wearing that C is the definition of a two-way center and the definition of a tough hockey player. He won a Stanley freaking Cup with a broken freaking rib. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. We'll break down this amazing series. Bruins Caps, dead even in the series at 4-4. Woo! This is going to be exciting. Goals, heads up, 3.31 versus 3.3. We're tied again. These guys are so freaking close. It is going to be a barn burner. Goals within their division, 3.36 for Washington, but a lower 2.93 for the Bruins. What ended up happening to the Bruins? Well, there are two Boston Bruins teams here right now. There are the Boston Bruins without Taylor Hall, and there are the Boston Bruins with Taylor Hall. So this stat is a little bit skewed. Soon as they added Taylor Hall to their lineup, the Boston Bruins ended up going up, and Taylor Hall is having a career end to this season, considering he started off so bad. Who knew you just needed a centerman like Krejci to play with? Guess Buffalo wasn't the answer after all. I expect this series to be extremely close, and Boston has found a way to solve Washington when Washington has frankly been running over a lot of teams, so really even. Power play and penalty kill. These are so close. The power play of the Capitals is world class. Third in the league, 24.8%. That's good enough to be one step over the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it should be with all their talent, especially with Ovi laying those clap bombs. And their penalty kill, nothing to sneer at either. This is what happens when you got guys like John Carlson on the back end. The Capitals are world class in power play and penalty kill, but Boston, nothing to sneer at either. Their power play is serviceable at 21.9%, and we know the talent on the Bruins is deep. Adding Taylor Hall to that only makes it deadlier. Their penalty kill, one of the best in the league. They are stingy. The Bruins will beat you up, the Bruins will take a penalty, and then the Bruins will kill that penalty, and that can absolutely swing the momentum in this game. So who are the Washington Capitals led by this year? Only Nicholas Backstrom, one of the quietest, best centers in the league, still coming in at a point per game pace. John Carlson is still an elite back-end defenseman. TJ Oshie knows how to score goals, and Alexander Ovechkin doesn't even look like he's lost a step. Gray beard or not, guy's a beast. Then you're going to add everybody's favorite, Tommy Wilson. Tommy Wilson is a deadly player. You can look to Tom Wilson to really try to disrupt the Bruins, but the Bruins aren't the New York Rangers, Tom. They push back. Ovechkin, Backstrom, Mantha. Nice line one combination. Ovechkin and Backstrom feel like they've been playing together for a decade now. Sheary, Ehlers, and Raffle don't really love this second line. I truly don't. I think the Boston Bruins second line is going to end up crushing this one in a matchup. Millette, Sprong, and Wilson. I'll be interested to see if Wilson doesn't get moved up a line or two here. Wilson is a skill player. He can play on the first line. He can play on the second line. I'm really interested to see what they end up doing with Tom. I'd be giving Tom all the ice time I could give him in the first 2 games. Their back end is going to have to be held down by Schultz and Orlov. Karlsson is out for this series, and that could be a huge turning point for Boston. He's a world-class defenseman. They're going to keep that piece off the board. Will he end up returning in time? I personally couldn't find any information on whether John Karlsson is going to be ready for day 1 of the playoffs or not, but if he's out, that's a massive blow to the Capitals, and if he's back, how effective is he going to be? Really tough to tell. So what about goaltending? Well, the Washington Capitals are going to start a rookie that probably has no idea he is supposed to lose. You never know what you're going to get with rookie goalies, but the Washington goaltender has been absolutely good enough to put up middle of the pack numbers and allow his team of veterans in front of him to carry. If he ends up getting hot, he could be good enough to steal a series, but there's also a very good chance that being a rookie, he could end up folding like a cheap tent, and the Bruins' veteran and goal-scoring presence could end up putting a lot past them, making this series a lot shorter than we think it is. Boston's key, goaltending. Tuukka Rask is going to come in as their starter, but his leash is going to be short. Rask reminds me a lot of Curtis Joseph. Joseph was one of the best regular season goaltenders we've ever seen. Hi, Toronto Maple Leafs fans. And he could not get it done in the playoffs. Folded like a cheap tent. Tuukka Rask feels the same. He's streaky. If you don't watch the Bruins all the time like I do, you think Tuukka Rask may be elite and one of the best in the NHL, and he can be at times, but he can also be a bum. Bruins fans will tell you that they have a love-hate relationship with Rask. He's going to end up on a short leash, and that's because he's getting backed up by Swayman. Swayman has looked fantastic this year. He's taken the net away from Tuukka Rask. What makes Boston so deadly is that if Rask starts out hot and plays the way Rask could play, he could take him all the way to a cup just by himself. But if Rask slips for a game or two, Swayman could absolutely step in, take that net, and never give it back. We could see a changing of the guard in the playoffs, and then the Bruins could still win the Stanley Cup. Unbelievable goaltending coming out of Boston right now. A lot of depth at options, probably second only to the Vegas Golden Knights in terms of their options between the pipes. So let's take a look at that nasty Bruins lineup. Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. The best line 1 in the league. You heard me. The best line 1 in the league. Argue me down below in the comments, but these guys are elite. And Bergeron, fantastic leader. Marchand keeps getting better, and Pasternak rounds this line out super well. Can the line of Nicholas Backstrom with Alexander Ovechkin compete with this line? Yeah, they can. But this line is still better, it's still deeper, it's still faster. Line 2 is where the Bruins really hit you. Krejci, Taylor Hall, Craig Smith. This is a very nice line, and I think this absolutely outmatches anything that Washington can put together for a second line. Krejci could be a first-line center on almost any other team. We have a low-class Crosby-Malkin situation going on here with him and Bergeron. Taylor Hall has resurfaced as a very good player with the Boston Bruins. This is going to be a hard team to handle. And when your third line features the big body of Nick Ritchie and Charlie Coyle, that can end up getting pretty dangerous. Then the young Canadian Curtis Lazar and the veteran in Jake DeBrusk, this line can hit you with 4 different lines of power, speed, and toughness. The Bruins look deep. But the Bruins defense, couple question marks. Charlie McAvoy, like him a lot, but they ended up losing Chara and Krug. It'll be interesting to see how this affects them in the playoffs. I've known we've seen it all season, but those were 2 pretty good players to lose out on. Brandon Carlo, Mike Riley, they're an okay 3-4. Just okay. So you got the Capitals, you got the Bruins. What's the X factor? Am I going to pick the power play, or am I going to pick the depth of Boston? Well, I'm going to pick the depth of Boston. I think Boston has one of the deepest teams, and I think the physicality of the Washington Capitals will be met head on like a freight train by the Boston Bruins. I do not think the Capitals will be able to bully the Bruins, and I think that Bruins penalty kill is going to keep pucks out of the net from that superb Washington attack. I think the Bruins goaltending is better. I think the Bruins are faster. The Islanders exposed the Capitals last year for being slow on the transition. They got beat by a bunch of nobodies. I think Boston can do it again this year. I think Boston is a world-class team right now coming out of here. I'm calling the upset. The Bruins are going to take this in 7, baby. So then that leads us to the conference finals of the East, and such a hot matchup between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Boston Bruins. This is going to be lights out hockey. I love this division right now. The TV ratings, I hope, are through the roof for these two guys. I hope you're super excited for them right now. Crosby, Bergeron, best of friends in world competitions, are going to come to a head to win a 2nd or a 4th Stanley Cup. Who is going to end up leading their team to victory? Well, we can see that Boston ends up beating Pittsburgh in the regular season matchup. This was surprising even to me. It really seemed like Pittsburgh walked all over them at times this year, but that is not the case. This is a nasty matchup for the Pittsburgh Penguins and not what they want to see. If Pittsburgh's playing Washington in here and I'm wrong, Pittsburgh's winning this series and maybe going all the way to the cup. But we're saying they're playing the Bruins, and the Bruins have figured out the Penguins. 2.4 goals against in the series. Take that top-end scoring attack of Crosby and throw it right down the drain because the Bruins have figured out how to handle it. They end up scoring at a clip of 2.6. We've said Pittsburgh is deep. This is a very deep game, but Boston is absolutely a team that can win a series 2-1 over and over and over again. They're built that way. They've been built that way forever. Goals in the division, we can see both teams end up scoring a lot less when they're playing against each other, and that is because they are playing big, physical, tough hockey. Both these teams are tough. Both these teams are fast. Both these teams are really well matched, line 1 through 4. Power play percentage for each team, not too bad. Both teams can torch you on the power play. The difference is the Bruins come with a middle pack power play, but the Penguins, they don't come with a world-class penalty kill. And that middle pack Boston power play is more than good enough to take out the putrid and sad Pittsburgh Penguins kill. Now that you've added Taylor Hall to that mix, that power play, like I said, has gotten even better. That Pittsburgh Penguins offense, that Pittsburgh Penguin power play, yeah, it's deadly too, but it's also playing a world-class penalty kill. So, heads up, where do we think this series ends up going? I hate to say it, Penguins fans. I hate to say it, Leafs fans. I know you hate the Bruins, but I'm taking the Bruins, baby. This is a bad matchup for Pittsburgh. Yes, they're a third place team, but I think Boston ends up cruising through this series in 6. I think Boston's toughness ends up helping them win it. I think Boston's speed, I think their goaltending and their penalty kill lowers that offensive Pittsburgh Penguin attack. And I think the Pittsburgh Penguins end up falling out. That is my take on the Eastern Conference. I'm going to follow up today with another conference. We're going to do 4 videos, one for each conference. We're going to pick the winner, and then video number 5, which ends up dropping tomorrow, is going to be our conference finals and Stanley Cup winner. We're going to have to wait for the Avs and the Knights to settle who ends up as first place in the division. So go ahead, subscribe, notifications on. Hit a like, stick with us, and tell me, what do you think? Did I get this division right, or am I out of my mind? And be nice in the comments. Read the title of the channel, baby. This has been Coach Ryan D with Hot Garbage Sports.